Okay, I think it's resumption o'clock. Lots to talk about here in terms of how this game lands things
The
and in
flood.
terms of
It's spreading all
ideas
over the
Bungie
city.
was trying to
How
work
do we
with in the
contain it?
background.
Find the crashed flood ship.
Let
Overload
me
its
turn
engine
the
core.
game down
We
a
either
tiny bit.
destroy this city or risk losing the entire planet.
Do it.
Chief,
So,
make your way to the crash
yeah,
site.
if you're listening to Ron Perlman and Commander Keys there, the stakes sound quite heavy. Destroy them or we lose the city, and this was the whole, like, battle for Earth where, yeah, like, the Covenant finding Earth in the last game, that's really, like, high-stakes disaster that triggers the end game. We've gone from a war on the back foot going badly to kind of like Mayday, Mayday, apocalypse scenario, all hands on death, the fate of this battle, you know, that's the human race is either done for or still alive. And, you know, if they know where Earth is, they can keep coming, so it's really, like, catastrophic. And we barely pulled through, apparently, or at least bought ourselves a reprieve. The situation developed, and there's all the fuckery going on at High Charity. But, yeah, what happens then? The flood arrive on Earth in that one dinky little ship that smoked down and exploded here, and you saw flood kind of milling around in the background, kind of a homage to the level in Halo CE where they show up. What's that meant to be over there? Like a shipping container in the middle of nowhere? I don't know, but I don't mean to shit on this level. I actually think it looks nicer than the last one. Just the ambience of this scene, the way they've given a hue to the air, that weird, gloomy covenant at that weird, gloomy flood atmosphere. It's like the swamp in the first game. There's something bad in the air now. That's good, but in general, especially as we play through this level, you'll feel what my problem is, which is that it really feels like the stakes haven't gone from 10 to 11. Like the last level, the battle to save Earth, one friend of mine, we were talking about it, I think he said it felt like, yeah, you just fight through like 3 warehouses and that determines the fate of Earth. Unfortunately, that is how Halo 3 feels. And yeah, how does the flood arriving on Earth, the other possible catastrophe set up in Halo CE, play out? Well, you'll see what we're basically going to do is play 2 of those warehouses again, now with flood in them, and then we'll just kind of move on like this didn't happen. And the contrast I want to raise before we go any further is just really, Myth is not my favorite Bungie game, but Myth 1 is very well written and compelling in the way that it handles being a story about a losing war. One friend of mine, a guy who's Japanese, he said that he really appreciated Halo Reach for being a kind of well-realized story about a losing war. And we'll get into that when we play Reach, which I intend to eventually, and I do think he's right to give them credit there. And that's kind of credit we can give to, like, late but still Bungie, that, like, yes, Reach feels more thematically like it's landing its setups for, like, a story that's going bad, you're in bad situations, where Halo 3 kind of really fumbles and feels like not a lot is happening, even though, you know, like we're doing here. If you really think about what's going on, it's very heavy and intelligent and compelling, but in practice, this game is just kind of there. Yeah, Reach does that a lot better, but even more than that, Myth is definitely the high point of Bungie telling this kind of story, and it does seem to be a fascination they have. And I don't think they've said it anywhere, but a suspicion I have is that probably Jason Jones has read a lot of books about Stalingrad and like the fall of the Reichstag and stuff. But of course, if he did, you know, he's not going to admit that now, but you know, where does this fascination with these, like, brutal lost causes come from? Her Jones? Has anyone ever thought about that? Is that a novel Anthony thought right now? It's just... Yes, if we're kind of the noble human warrior culture on the back ropes, which kind of historic situations are we paralleling right now? Of course, one is the 300 Spartans, which we know Jones is a fan of. He loves his classics, but does anything else come to mind? Have you ever tried to think about that? It's fun to speculate. But anyway, yes, this level. Myth 1's campaign is really brilliant for just giving you this constant sense of, like, Even at the start, it's very fascinating how, like, just very bad things are immediately and how they're on track to just get worse and worse and worse. And yeah, the flood arriving on Earth, that should be like in Myth 1 when the, like, journal guy who keeps giving you the state of the world says, "We've received word that Madrigal has fallen last week." Like, and that happening is like a real, oh fuck, so there's like no going back, like, we just keep death marching forward and hope for the best while civilization just fucking collapses behind us. That really feels high stakes, and yeah, I guess that game's strength is how limited in scale the action is and how abstract the presentation is, that basically like 99% of the world of Myth is always existing in, things being alluded to in cutscenes, which are just, these literary things read by a very strong narrator to give you a sense of what's going on. Whereas Halo, it has as much kind of literary bones underneath, but they tried to really step away from that after Myth and Marathon and show you their world playing out, and yeah, unfortunately, like, stuff like the Fall of Madrigal is much more compelling than the flood reaching Africa sequence. Like, think of how fucked up this is meant to be, that, like, we just barely survived our, like, final battle, and a city on Earth got mauled but is still intact, and then the fucking flood drop out of the sky and land on top of this city that's meant to be all, like, barely hanging on overrun marine positions, refugee camps, field hospitals full of mauled people, and then the fucking zombies land on top of them. It should be hell on Earth, but it just kind of feels like nothing because, yeah, we're just kind of walking through 3 little warehouses. But there they do a little, like, dynamic in-engine thing to show how fucked we are, like, 3 Marines get mauled by flood. And yeah, in this game they added the ability of infection forms to actually transform your NPCs. Oh yeah, like that. Sorry, I meant to save these guys. Yeah, trying to save the Marines on this level is a way to make it kind of compelling because they are a little bit more dynamic, but yeah, does this really look like hell on Earth is breaking out, or does it look like we're in a reuse of the last level with the palette swap and we're fighting like 4 retarded goblin Dead Space enemies? Make short work of them. Good idea, Keith David. Is there a shotgun over here? Yeah, that's fun. And we'll use the assault rifle just because it doesn't get a lot of use in this game. But yeah, let's see how these scenes compare to the flood ones from the other games and with things like Madrigal from Myth. Gotcha, buddy. Isn't that nice that in, like, CE they're always saying, like, get it off, but you can't? In this one, you can actually blow an infection form off a guy. Oh, those 2 are in trouble. I'll try. But yeah, like, this is meant to be, like, a situation going from bad to so much worse. And yeah, the idea is, like, all of our Marines are, like, covered in bandages and shit in the last level because this has been a, like, they thought this was as bad as the war was going to get. This was our, like, harried last stand in one of the cities on Earth that the Covenant are focusing on. All the Marines who are left, again, like, this is like the fucking Red Army reaching Berlin. Everyone who's left fighting is all, like, fucked up and exhausted, and we think we're probably going to break, but yeah, they managed to pull through, and then this happens, so yes, it's meant to be like the exhausted last stand positions getting hit by another much worse wave, but yeah, like, it's not that hard to save Marines, and in general the situations don't look like they're places where we're recovering from hell on Earth. Like, again, in the script and stuff, and just in different assets and scenes you can see over the course of production, like how, in that original E3 trailer for... There's a flamethrower Marine, by the way. In the original E3 trailer for Halo 2, when they first showed off what they wanted New Mombasa to look like, the Impossible Tech fake trailer, the infamous one, a big part of that trailer, I remember it made like a strong impression on me as a kid, was that, like, New Mombasa was full of field hospitals, and the Marines are all like, it's not like they're just fighting until they drop. Like, there are field hospitals full of, like, Marines who are fucked up and they're, like, getting blood transfusions and stuff. I think that was a big idea they had. Like, blood is a big part of Halo in the first place, like the way that it just gets thrown around during battle, but yes, I think Bungie wanted to escalate that, and the way they would do that would be like, okay, now the NPCs are like bleeding and covered in blood, and that would be how they kind of escalate the drama here. That's something they couldn't do in Myth and Marathon, and yeah, in here we kind of get it.
Chief, I can't trust you. It's not safe.
And yeah, back to the whole Cortana thing. That's not like a PTSD flashback. That's very explicitly Cortana speaking to the Master Chief across space. That is just something interesting to think about as we go through this. I'll use the flamethrower even though it's not really practical, just because it's cool. The idea of the Master Chief fighting the Flood with one of these is just very key, even if in game terms the realization isn't amazing. Also, holy god, you're blind using this thing. Just because of how this like engine handles the contrast. Ah! Oh, and here's our like gay new version of the Halo CE stay away guy. Yeah, when everyone has a dynamic animation for like everything, it really doesn't make as much of an impact. I want to say this guy just kinda milling around here. Like, the games are really full of Marines doing this shit. There's one in Halo ODST who is very lame, I'll point him out when we get there, but yeah, this level really just kind of fails as its own little self-contained dramatic piece compared to 343 Guilty Spark, and as, you know, a part of the as an representing a really strong escalating moment in the world of Halo. Oh, here we go. This is a conceptually very cool idea that, you know, it's a good news when an alien ship with one of those weird florid religious names shows up and it's like actually here to save you. That is a cool demonstration of where we're at with the elites, that, you know, their tone isn't sheer friendliness either. Like, it's like, okay, you fucking idiot humans, we'll deal with this. The shadow of intent is here, all of you just get the fuck out of our way.
The fleet has quarantined with Broke. This single ship broke through our line, and we gave chase. We had a fleet of hundreds. Alas, brother, the Flood, it has evolved.
And yeah, the Arbiter gets a few moments, and a lot of them are just like blink and you'll miss it, but yeah, the Arbiter, and we get a 5-man squad and they're elites rather than Marines, that's fun. But yeah, that's how they've decided to explain this, that yes, the Flood outbreak is not as bad as it is in the original script. In the original Halo 3 script, which I like more, it's more like Myth, it's more of a like, holy fuck, higher stakes thing. In the original writing of this whole sequence, High Charity itself gets like teleported over Earth and Flood drop down from that. But as you just heard, what they reduced it to is, yeah, High Charity is just encircled by a gajillion elites and they're basically on top of this. And one ship slipped through and came to Earth to be a dick and try to get to the Ark. Like, yeah, that's still bad, but it does just seem like, you know, why did we drop the highest stakes version? Maybe they wanted the plot to be less confusing. I don't know, maybe having to like move different parts around. Well, of course there's that whole thing with later in the game where we have to do that infamous level Cortana, which is the shittest level in the series. It's kind of what people convince themselves the library is. They decided that, like, no, they needed a kind of the big Flood confrontation had to come later. So I suppose if it was High Charity was over Earth, that would make it awkward. I kind of get that, but again, it just feels like this whole sequence doesn't land that well. Like, there's just not that much going on relative to what there should be. The Flood look kind of nasty, but I think in general in the first game they look a bit meaner and more fucked up, just the kind of lower resolution and more generally just the style. I don't know, I'm not in the mood to talk at length about that. The elites, I'm not crazy about their operator armor that they have in this game, but I get the idea that that's what an enclosed helmet looks like for an elite. And of course they're wearing enclosed helmets while fighting the Flood. I'm not gonna complain about that. And yeah, as you can see, they've really kind of... The Flood have done a number on this place, but does it really convey the impression of a humanitarian disaster, or is it just like, okay, the warehouses have a different type of enemy in them? Like, really, yeah, this should be like when Madrigal falls in Myth, or the introduction of the Mercrydia in Myth 2, like, rather than seeing like 3 Marines die, like, you know, when the Mercrydia show up in Myth 2, that's the kind of flood reveal for the Myth games. A new class of enemy shows up and kind of changes things. They show you like just a big open area with like 50 allied units in it. And they can do that because of Myth's weird way of like rendering stuff with sprites in a 3D world. Just to like demo the new enemy and sell that it's bad that they're here. They just show you like 50 normal units operating in like consistent game logic, like the same units you command, just getting like fucking leveled by a bunch of these new enemies who just wipe the floor with them and don't give a shit. And then it cuts to where you are, and it's like, yeah, now you have to get through this area full of these things that just fucking, like, destroyed all of these guys, like a much bigger pile of units. You go now in your, like, strategy game horror level where you have to do an escort level through this field of giant monsters. And it's very cool. But yeah, this level, as a game and as a kind of constructed dramatic set piece using Halo parts as props and tools and effects and whatever, it's just kind of...
It's Cortana, Chief. She's on that ship. Find her. Get her up.
Yeah. There's this whole thing, I've heard it put a few different ways. I'm not certain what the plan was. I'm sure it went through a few iterations, but basically a big part of this game is finding Cortana, or at least it was meant to be, and I think at one point it might have been that she was here, and the next level would be a giant throwdown with the Flood to basically liberate Cortana and take her with us to finish the fight, but as you'll see, that's not where this level ends up going, and Cortana is not on the ship, so... By the way, here's a turret that's actually useful, not many of those in Halo 3. At least not in their original positions, but look at us go. We'll get our mileage out of this thing before we take it with us. Oh yeah, and the Flood are evolving. There's that brief, like, throwaway line there that... Yes, there they are, pure Floods. They aren't possessed forms of other bodies. They're just building their own new, like, optimized combat forms out of biomass now. Which is a more like many things about Halo 3, it's a more interesting idea on paper than how it comes out in the actual game. And come on. This turret feels like it's underperforming now, sorry. I just got distracted by how shit it was doing against that. But yeah, here's the ship the Covenant crashed into us, and the fact that it's one ship and we just physically find the wreck really conveys... What they say in cutscenes suggests this was a really bad disaster that got out of hand, but the whole setup of the scenes that make up this level really feels like, if it wasn't their intention, still what ends up happening is you get a sense of they've, like, massively undermined and undersold the scale of what happened here. Like, if you ask, like, the average normal fag who played this game, like, yeah, what happened in this level, they'll just say, like, oh, the Flood showed up. Like, I don't think they'd really get a strong sense of, like, oh yeah, like, Earth almost got overwhelmed, like, yeah, the world of Halo was almost done for. It's just... This level, I really think, is a big, dramatic failure. And also you can see in the subtitles, but not really hear it, I don't think, that the Gravemind is giving us, like, Mass Effect 2 Overseer guy lines, where he just says, like, get ready to die, bitch. Yeah, okay, whatever. And dead brutes, apparently. I don't really know what that's meant to be about. Sure, why not? I guess they just wanted me to have a hammer here. Yes, I'll take it. But yeah, this whole level, I feel like it was meant to be like a myth event happening in Halo. Like, Halo is always meant to be a back-against-the-wall bad time scenario game, but it really kind of took on the kind of triumphalist feeling of the kind of initial kind of Iraq War 2000s military aesthetic thing. I was talking about that with friends too recently, how, like, that whole cultural moment kind of, as it transitioned to the, you know, shit-fest of unwinnable mess of Afghanistan, everyone's mind kind of everyone's mood about military stuff kind of went from triumphant invincibility and a kind of colonial mindset to kind of frustration, paranoia, and distrust and division. But yeah, Halo 3 is still kind of riding high on a general sense of positivity. And yeah, now we're going inside the Gravemind, and it looks kind of like we're inside diseased guts, which is not nice, but you know, I guess that's what Flood is meant to look like, and it's kind of an escalation of what we started to see in Halo 2. Like how we had all growths on the wall of High Charity, like, yeah, eventually High Charity just becomes a biological thing, because that's what the Gravemind does.
Join your voice with mine, and sing victory everlasting.
And I suppose I can say briefly now, before we keep going, what the Gravemind kind of is. Someone involved with Halo Wars, I forget who, someone had this tweet recently talking about the Gravemind, what he learned from reference materials they got from Bungie. He just confirmed that the Gravemind does have a plan, the Flood kind of have a teleology, a reason for existing that they are working towards. And yes, the Gravemind is like another earnest player in the race for apotheosis with every other kind of interest group in the Halo world. Humanity is on the verge of turning Cortana into a demigod and kind of having society realigned around that, and the Covenant are seeking a kind of religious escape, which they don't understand is activating a superweapon. And yeah, the Gravemind, he's kind of like a counterpart to Cortana. He gets smarter the more stuff he eats, and yes, this guy talking about Bungie reference materials confirmed that yes, the Gravemind does have a coherent win state, and it is not eat the universe and then just kind of sit on his ass knowing he won. If he eats enough, his brain becomes big enough that, like Cortana, he has this interest in surpassing his hard limits, which are basically related to space, size, digital footprint of his mind, whatever you want to call it. If he eats enough, he can become a mind powerful enough to just kind of transcend reality as we know it. And what we got from this second-hand description of Bungie research, of kind of in-world Bungie lore, understanding of their own of their own work, is that basically, if the Gravemind eats enough things and becomes powerful enough, his win state is the ending to the movie Akira. If you remember how that goes, the psychic teenager whose body is exploding because his mind is just... basically, his body is just exploding with paranormal energy that it can't contain, and then he kind of gets dragged into another dimension by more mature psychics where he kind of... his body... his kind of mind, the energy well within him is no longer bound by the limits of his body and our world, so then he kind of just achieves this kind of placid, perfect expansion, which takes the form of kind of, he is a glint in space that, you know, says his name, affirms his existence, and then kind of explodes into a new bang. Big bang. It sounds kind of nice when you put it that way, and you know, it's not like generic, shitty Obama villain gloating if you contextualize the things the Gravemind says in that way. He says, like, join me in victory and eternal chorus. Like, he means that. The Gravemind wants to eat you so that you can achieve a genuine win state for sentient life. We are going to become a collective god of many minds, and we are going to reboot the universe in our own image. Which again, like, if you look at the kind of old, outdated storyboards of what Halo 2 was going to be, when the plot was the combination of older versions of Halo 2 and 3, that was also what the Prophet of Truth wanted to do, reboot the universe in his own image, by kind of exploiting the construction of Halo and the Ark, and using himself as a genetic template to rebuild life after firing Halo. The Gravemind, I presume, would be a kind of psychic template for giving birth to a new universe. If he wins, you know, ending to Akira, I am Tetsuo, explosion of new life in some new dimension. Ending to Halo, if the Gravemind wins, I am Gravemind, and then you get a big bang and life is born in a new universe, presumably. So not even necessarily a bad thing, just, you know, we like not being eaten by the giant, evil, malevolent flesh mass, so we necessarily have to oppose this guy, but yeah, just laying out there that yes, the Gravemind is a very coherently thought out player in the same race as humanity. And yeah, just again as well, it kind of occurred to me after reading that Cortana and the Gravemind are both facing the same problem, which is sort of a need for space to accommodate their minds. They're both hitting the limit. And a friend raised to me that I should have mentioned Ian M. Banks in the last video because he is very obviously a kind of core inspiration for where humanity is at, both in Marathon and in Halo, the Culture series. If you read the novel Consider Phlebas, you will see kind of basically how Bungie imagined more and more advanced computers would work. Like, their characterization of Durandal, Leela, and Tycho in Marathon is very much inspired by that. They're kind of not quite there, and Cortana is another kind of utopian AI supercomputer ideal. And that thing I was talking about, how Cortana has a problem of space. The Culture novels by Ian M. Banks, Consider Phlebas, they just outright explain very early on how their AIs work, and it is, you know, they've solved this problem that's happening in Halo, which I think goes to show that it was what they had in mind all along, and that the world of Halo is going to become the world of the Culture novels when they solve this final problem, which is that computers in the Culture novels are metaphysical. The thinking parts, the, like, essential hardware of artificial intelligences, so that their digital footprint, or weight, whatever you want to call it, can basically be born as it grows infinitely in complexity. They all exist in hyperspace, you know, interstellar travel exists through weird manipulation of space and time, and you basically hold the physical parts of your computer in that other space so that they are accountable to different rules which are more accommodating to the nature and needs of extremely advanced computers. And yeah, Cortana has a expiration date because, you know, she spends the Halo games kind of riding around in the world's most advanced USB, but the implication is that, like, even if they build some ridiculous data center or whatever for her, you know, she's just something about the constraints of computing in this dimension. She's not going to make it. It's going to get too much to be born, and it's all going to collapse in on itself, and she will effectively die. But, you know, if that could be avoided, if humanity's artificial intelligences, they've solved the problem of them being, like, malevolent. No, their AIs are intelligent, and they're very happy to cooperate with the human race, much like in the Ian Banks novels, the Culture series. They have AI, and they're just very happy to be part of Team Humanity. But yeah, the humanity's AIs in Halo, because they haven't figured out computing standards strong enough to accommodate them, they are all doomed to die eventually, and that's kind of the breakthrough that is going to take the world of Halo from kind of a advanced space empire to really a kind of utopia, if they can figure that out. And while the Banks novels are basically post-utopian, they're the challenges faced by a society that has kind of just achieved a perfect existence in the stars where material concerns are mostly solved. Yeah, Halo kind of draws things back. It's a story of becoming, humanity trying to achieve some kind of destiny, and yes, what really makes it compelling is that if you think about all of the sides and take them seriously, consider who they are, their perspectives, what they're going for, it's a kind of race of becoming. And on one end you have humanity, the UNSC, this kind of proto-Ian M. Banks society where they're kind of authoritarian and militaristic right now, but potentially by pursuing those drives going to become something far more peaceful and fulfilling. But then of course there's also the other side, that they find their fulfillment in this constant becoming rather than kind of a stability. And that's also something that Banks gets into, how this society he has imagined, the Culture, you know, he is not a kind of naive utopian who thinks you just kind of solve material needs and the human race is happy. Like, no, he knows that we have to be doing stuff to not go insane. It gets much more interesting, I assure you. But yes, Halo is a story about several different groups, entities, interest groups, individuals aspiring towards a kind of apotheosis, a kind of greater state of existence, and yes, one great informing factor there is the Banks novels. So why did I go into that? I don't even know, but I hope you feel a bit more caught up if you didn't know that. Sorry if a lot of that was reiterating things.
Cortana?
High Charity, the Prophet's holy city is on...
Cortana.
Oh no. Cortana didn't answer us, I don't think that was her. And look, it's this guy.
I must act quickly before your construct suffers any further
Wait.
trauma.
Leave her alone.
If we do not take this device to a safe location, somewhere I can make repairs.
On Halo, you try
This is a very weird cutscene, it's just trying to do a lot very quickly.
Protocol dictated my response. She had the activation index, and you were going to destroy my installation.
Yeah, we'll talk more later about how they really
Destroy
kind
my
of botched
installation.
343 Guilty
Now I
Spark in
have
this
only
game.
one function, to help you, Reclaimer, as I always should have done.
That line there, though, is important. He says, I need to help you, Reclaimer, as I always should have done. That is very rich with meaning that we kind of betray later in the game, unfortunately, but yes, they're trying to... It was always the plan in the original Halo 2 storyboards that Spark becomes an increasingly rational and friendly actor as he basically gets the story together and figures out what happened.
Can it be saved?
Uncertain. This storage device has suffered.
Yes, that wasn't Cortana, that was a storage device.
Highly unstable.
And this is a
Perhaps
big
one of our
moment.
techniques.
Lord
That
Hood
will
is in a
not be
Covenant
necessary.
ship.
Chief,
Success.
High Charity,
Just this
the
game is
Prophet's holy
very...
city is on its way to Earth
It just feels like
with
it
an
skims
army of
across
flood.
things.
I can't tell you everything. It's not safe. The Gravemind, it knows I'm in the system.
It's just a message.
Let it play.
But it doesn't know about the portal, where it leads. On the other side, there's a solution, a way to stop the flood, without firing the remaining Halo rings. Oh! Hurry, Chief. The Ark. There isn't much time.
Yeah, what we're setting up here, that on one hand there's salvation and there's like extinction chasing us from behind.
Our
This
fight
just
is
doesn't
through
come
the
together
portal.
feeling as frantic as it
brutes
should.
and the
I'm sure you
bastard
agree.
Fine. We'll remain here. Hold out as long as we can.
Did you not hear? Your world is doomed. A flood army, a Gravemind, has you in its sights. We barely survived a small contamination.
And you, shipmaster, just glassed half a continent. Maybe the flood isn't all I should be worried about.
One single flood spore can destroy a species.
This
Were it
cutscene
not
isn't
for Arbiter's
bad.
counsel,
It's probably the
I would
strongest
have
this
blasted your
setting the
entire
stakes
planet.
and
Sir, with respect,
basically the state of the
Cortana
world
has a
gets in
solution.
these games, but
Did you see her condition?
yeah,
How
it
damaged
should
she
be
is?
better, I think.
She could be corrupted for all we know. Her solution could be a flood trap.
We should go through the portal. Find out for sure.
What we should do, Commander, is understand, clearly, that this is humanity's final
Also,
stand.
Lord Hood's face looks a bit
Here,
weird. It's
at
more
Earth,
obvious in
we go,
ODST
we
when
risk
there are
everything.
more uncovered
Every last
faces,
man,
but
woman, and child.
the way they do
We
human
stand our
faces in the
ground.
Halo engine has always
We
looked a
might
bit
just have a
funny,
chance.
especially as
No.
they add fidelity.
If your construct is wrong, then the flood is already
It looked alright in 2, I think,
I'll
because we
find
were kind
Cortana's
of...
solution. And I'll bring
We
it
were at a
back.
nice level of abstraction
Earth.
there.
Is all we have left. You trust Cortana that much?
Sir. Yes, sir.
This is either the best decision you've ever made or the worst. Hell of it is, Chief. I doubt I'll live long enough to find out which.
So yeah, we're going to fight together with the Covenant. We're going to go beat up the Prophet of Truth and the Brutes and figure out what's going on with the Ark and if we can stop what's-his-face, you know, the Gravemind. And we get this little funny scene of Johnson walking past elites and the Arbiter walking past Marines and ODSTs. It's a bit cape shit, but whatever, it's kind of funny as well. Honestly, I wish they tried more to make a joke out of this. It would have I don't know, felt very Bungie to me. And there's weird-faced Commander Keyes and the Chief getting ready to go. Yeah, this is the best cutscene in Halo 3, I think, and it's just kind of, I don't know, like, what's that weird blue hue everything is colored with? But anyway, yeah, the elites and some of the UNSC are gonna go through this thing while Earth is... Yeah, they really don't establish well, but I think the idea is a lot of Truth's ships are still around, and the Flood, at least in the storyboard, the idea was the Flood were quarantined rather than wiped out. Because, again, it was High Charity that came rather than saying High Charity will come. It's just... a lot of stuff gets left open, but not in the, like, neat, mysterious way of myth, and more like it just kind of feels, like, awkwardly realized. Myth is a really fucking vague story, but I like it there. That's the simplest way to put this. I just think it lands better. We can try to quantify that 100 different ways.
Staggered line.
This is a cool part.
Shipmaster, they outnumber us 3 to 1.
Then it is an even fight. All cruisers
Yeah,
fire
you
and
tell him,
win.
Shipmaster.
Burn their mongrel hides.
Outnumbered 3 to 1, so it's even. Hell yeah.
Truth's ship isn't taking part in the attack. He must have gone to ground.
Roger that, ma'am. We're on him. Kick the door.
And yeah, again, this should be... Basically, the presentation of this scene is too confident, like, the Marty drums coming in here are just like expedition music, like, it feels like this is a random skirmish in the middle of the war rather than like, this is the do or die, end of everything moment, like, yeah, one ship, Truth's, has gone to ground in the Ark, and he's going to try to do some crazy Prophet of Truth shit, and we are, yeah, like, we are the last-ditch effort from humanity to stop his last-ditch effort, while above us, there is a fight between Shipmaster and the Brutes, and if he loses that, it doesn't fucking matter, because they'll just blow us up. Like, everyone is firing their last-ditch plans, is the gist I'm going for. That's where the world of Halo is at. Everyone is on the verge of apotheosis or destruction. And does it feel like that? And yeah, here's our, like, beach landing parallel scene, but... yeah, they say hell of a view, but... does this really feel as cool as the, like, tech demo island in the 4th level of Halo CE? I don't think so. And we get a couple of ODSTs, which is nice. They look cool still. Okay, those guys have better stuff to be doing. And now, this is the level with those infamous fucking terminals. Have I mentioned those yet? I'll try to find them, I'll try to talk about them, but I'm probably going to have my most lore-acquainted buddy drop in for an episode of something just to fucking talk about that. Yeah, the Anthony Show will work at that. All that stuff I keep saying. I haven't given up on anything, but making shit is hard. I'm sorry, people. But yeah, the beach landing turns into a parallel to the 3rd level. We're up in the rocks, we got a sniper rifle, it's Truth and Reconciliation again. And yeah, here's some brutes to fight. And there's grunts in their weird shiny green special armor. Again, the game doesn't do a great job conveying this, but we're fighting like the last-ditch elite of Truth's people. Like, these are the ones who are on his personal ship. And yeah, like, the Covenant is almost broken. This is, again, like, I raised Stalingrad as a parallel for where humanity was at, but it's basically like Stalingrad, but also more like, I meant to say, the Reichstag. Like, this really is like Last Stand versus Last Stand, like, one ship to spare from the UNSC fighting the one ship of ground troops that the Prophet of Truth was able to land. It really is just everyone throwing everything to see what comes of it, but in practice, what does that look like? Again, these little contained, neat little arenas where us and 5 guys go and fight like a dozen Covenant at a time.
Now it is engaged, turns deftly in the wards of this new world. Do not relent until the heretic ships are smashed.
And can we see the space battle above us? Kind of. I think that's what those explosions are meant to be. That's cool, I'll give them that, but yeah, again, just, do you feel the stakes that are meant to be here? In general, again, we're just still experiencing that kind of failure to anime, I think. This game just... it's more fun to consider on paper than what's actually happening, and I consider that a great shame, and I don't think that that's true of Halo CE or even 2 so much. Here is the game where they really fall short of their own ideas, unfortunately. And there they're building some lame little gun. Let's go beat it up. Yeah, they really love their AA batteries in Halo. Gotta justify, like, attacks on these small outdoor fixed points somehow. And yeah, this is their favorite card to play. In their defense, what else are they meant to do? It's something. It's generally kind of fun to play game sequences in Halo. Halo 4 is the only one I think I actually didn't enjoy playing. The only time I've played a Halo and actually thought, like, good fucking god, I am, like, miserable. That really is, like, one of the worst fucking games I've ever finished, I think. And I've played a fair few games that I thought was shit just to see them through. Your ODST team. Yeah, as well, we've got, like, special forces with us because this is such a hardcore level, but I don't know, it doesn't feel like a lot. What are they called in Myth 2 when you get the special forces? The, Heron Guard? It doesn't quite feel like the Heron Guard are here. Come on, you bastards. Is there a Jackal Sniper somewhere? Yes. Jackal Carbine guy, anyway. Is that really not a neck shot? Alright, we're gonna... Give me a moment to think about this, and then I have to get to those terminals, and we can deal with the clusterfuck of determining what's going on in those. That'll be much harder than fighting 2 hunters. Hold still, you shit. There we go, thank you. Just hit his back while he chases me. That works. Still got shots for that thing. Oh yeah, I should give this to a Marine when I'm done. 2 grunts turning that corner, what a shit job for them. Yeah, I'll fire this until there's 1 shot left, then I'll give it to one of those guys back there. Ooh, we got 2. Okay, who wants an upgrade? You. Yay! Where's he going? Okay, I think the first terminal is up here, and this is gonna suck.
Chief, I'm giving the brutes all I've got.
Also, I think the levels keep going while you look at terminals, so probably all of the Marines are going to die.
Find me a place to set her down. Over.
Yeah. A big thing with these games is that the kind of in-mission comms you get from Cortana, and especially Keys in 2 and 3, they're meant to kind of serve the function of the diary entries in Myth, where they kind of sell where the rest of the world is at while you're doing the action, but yeah, I just don't think they land very neatly. Okay, now this. This is the Ark, an untouched Forerunner construct, so this is Forerunner records we are about to read. And yeah, what is going on in these? Bungie have a very strong history of putting very important details in this kind of thing, so we really have to take this seriously, so we're going to read this and assume for the moment that it came out as intended, but there's this whole clusterfuck of speculation. Oh wait, did I just take too long to get through it? I don't know. There's this whole speculation thing going on, some of it's on YouTube, of people trying to figure out what was happening in the writing of these, whether they convey the intentions of Bungie or not. But anyway, observed extensive ground action, survivors barricaded. This sounds like, for one, the like really highly detailed writing is how they write AI in Marathon, but also, well yeah, just in terms of what it is, this is basically Forerunner records, and as they start there, they're describing, you know, you can pause the video, I'm trying to read them out loud and give backstory here, but the idea with this weird as fuck computer within the game is that you are, yeah, just like going through like random piles of records from the Forerunners trying to hold shit together. Fragmented. Categorization has sped since the improvements were announced. Many hurdles. Indexing of sentient species. Extinction events. So obviously that is about building up the library of sentient life. The Forerunners were trying to grab everything before the flood killed it. Now, how formal you are, librarian? Things beyond the Maginot line are harried. The insertion of Maginot there, that is extremely, like, marathon core, that, like, history starts getting distorted and shoved into their, like, later future history. There is a Maginot line for the Forerunners, apparently, and, like, you can even think of this as a linguistic problem, like, why is that in red? Is this computer trying to recognize us as an English speaker and adapt things for us? Is that like a cultural reference that only the Forerunners would get, relativized into something we would? Is this computer reading our mind? Is it a coincidence so strong in the parallels between our cultures they would call something Maginot? It's really interesting and complex, and I don't think they were just throwing shit at the wall. I think that, like, everything in Marathon, I think, makes sense because Kirkpatrick and Jones were like that, and yeah, we lost Kirkpatrick in making Halo, but Jones came back at the end of production and contributed stuff. Some people say he definitely contributed this and wrote these Marathon-style entries. Other people say, oh, these were kind of fucked with, they were the less informed members of the team. But if we read these, the general gist of what is going on is that these are, the kind of primary subjects of these are the librarian and the didact. Yes, the pig-faced monsters from Halo 4, but this is how they were in the minds of Bungie, or at least that's what some people will tell you. But yes, things beyond the Maginot line are harried, but I worry about you. I've asked you time and again, abandon your cataloging, come back inside where my fleets can keep you safe, come home. And there are many parallels to, yeah, like they raise Maginot, but you aren't meant to think so much of our history as you are meant to think of Bungie's history in these. The obvious parallel in these, because there are two subjects, is the Jara in Marathon, how they're kind of represented by two entities, and one of them was killed by the work in Kakantor. The kind of parallel there is Librarian, Didact, Gravemind, and yeah, because Halo is a doubled metagame where humanity is repeating the struggle of the Forerunners, and this struggle is also a repetition of, you know, basically the events of Marathon, and this whole computer sequence here with those weird circular designs and motifs and weird esoteric backstory. This is just like a Marathon terminal shoved into Halo at the end as a kind of extreme Easter egg for those who know. And Jones kind of putting some final art faggery in before the show is done for good. Or at least he would very much like it to be so. Would that it were my choice. I've committed to this course, it's the right thing to do. We can't do, yep. The transit measure to save my own skin when there are still so many innocents to protect and index. Yes, what does that mean? Did anyone fully work out what this shit means? I don't know, but there is a lot going on here, and I do just... Sorry if this completely disrupts the whole reading of how the campaign works as a movie game, but this really is just about the most interesting thing in Halo 3, and if we think of it, this whole series I'm doing is kind of a retrospective on the, you know, peak and decline of Bungie as a creative force. This kind of highly reflective meta moment in Halo 3 is really one of the most interesting things they've done for us to talk about. Didact. You know I oppose your mission, but you're exceeding its parameters anyway. You've put yourself in jeopardy, you've done enough. If you'll not come to me, I will find my way to you. We have no time to spare, Didact. Every vessel we can fill, we send to the Ark. And of course, the other parallel to history is, of course, Ark. Noah's Ark. And it was the intention very plainly in the original Halo 2 storyboard formulation of this story, and just details people have shared here and there that through, you know, Bungie's story, lore, Bible, whatever you want to call it, how they thought about this, that basically humanity's kind of... Basically all human mythology is kind of psychic memories of our experiences, you know, surviving the Gravemind and the Flood and being preserved in the library. Why is there like a cultural memory of a flood and, you you know, a select few being saved because of what the librarian did, and that all religions are kind of psychic pulses from the arc of humanity trying to remember itself is kind of the original idea they were working with. Again, the kind of implied idea at the heart of Halo is not at all what Marty O'Donnell will tell you. It is basically Jason Jones saying that all religions are kind of like the Covenant, kind of blind stabbings at an underlying truth, which is that humanity exists to perfect itself. And that, yeah, the mission of the Forerunners was not really a spiritual one. You could say that this was their religion, just a devotion to preserving sentient life, but yes, that's not really religion in the sense of like mystical practice. It's an extremely practical mandate they felt they had a duty to serve. Each one of these souls is finite and precious, and I'm close to saving them all. Sorry if I made a clusterfuck of that, but there is just so much to deal with when you come across these fucking things in Halo, how much they transform things. That yes, there were much higher beings than us, and they had this whole situation of trying to... Oh, the Marines didn't run off and die. Good job, guys, but you might when I find the next terminal. Oh look, more guys. And now for a very boring game segment in which I can talk about thematic parallels and such. I think that's kind of funny and cute that they're just like looking at a crashed warthog like, huh, what do we make of this? But yes, now it's time to just blast into this next scene and kill things, and we'll be doing that for a little while. It won't be too interesting. I think Sniper Marine just fucked them up pretty bad. Good job. And yeah, like the fact that like a fighter just went down there and there's a crashed Pelican, I get that they're trying to convey a sense that like, yes, this big last-ditch battle is going on, but again, I'm not really feeling it, unfortunately, but yeah, we'll take a rocket launcher. That's one of the few places in the game where you'll find like ammo drops divorced from the greater thing. Rather than a rocket launcher, you get that little spanker drop-off case, which is fun, from Halo 1. Where you get that case that's implied to contain more rocket reloads. I just think that's neat. Get him, Sniper Marine. What do I fucking give you my gun for? Okay, why don't we drive one of these dumb things?
Mount up. Let's find that LZ.
Yes, if you want to go back to that old subject I went into, kind of the design language of races revealing who they are. Brute vehicles are just like their weapons. They look retarded and crude and extremely over-the-top and violent. Yeah, this is a brute vehicle, and it's, I think the explanation Bungie have is that it's a human mining vehicle that's, yeah, the brutes recovered and turned into a weapon because they thought it looked cool. And yeah, I managed to perfectly stick it there. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? Yeah, let's go back. That's a shame. Okay. Yeah, I remember that jump always being just kind of fucked in a Prowler. Let's try it again. There we go. Oh, and I've got the sniper guy on the left. He might do some good work now. But yeah, sorry if it's hard to explain on the fly the significance of those terminals, like especially since I haven't shown off Marathon on this channel. It's kind of hard to explain how, like, extremely big a deal it is that in this, what was kind of the last big entry in Halo, Bungie go back to doing what was kind of their signature move back in their far more creatively focused and coherent time when they were the Marathon guys, when the Bungie team was very small and everyone knew exactly what they were doing. The mission was very focused and discreet. I think those are rocket pods there. I'll grab those. Get them! Ah, useless shitters. Let me quickly grab those. Yay, they are rockets. Get back on the gun. There we go. I think the other Marines got into another vehicle, but I don't know if they made it very far. But it's okay, we have Sniper Marine, we'll make it. But yeah, in this level, while it's kind of a... This whole sequence, this part of Halo in Halo 3 is really kind of them trying to do different things that define them at different points. Like the end game kind of plot is very myth, the terminals showing up and the like really heavy story coming to a head along these themes of kind of things fulfilling their purpose, transcending reality, achieving a kind of apotheosis in their own terms. That is extremely marathon, and yeah, Halo, if you think about it in terms of like what's going on inside it, it was really meant to be a combination of what was the best, what Bungie were the best at across all of their games, and it would be like a big part of Myth was how advanced their physics was, and Halo was going to be an action game running on highly advanced Bungie tech. Again, like Valve, they were always really like genuinely bleeding edge in tech. They weren't just like guys who made games, they were guys who were extremely good at games, like at the frontier of it. Halo was meant to, you know, it had a really weird production where like at points it might not have even really had a story. It would have been like a tribes thing, like they had builds they played with internally that were basically just fucking around with this kind of multiplayer toy thing, and then it gets a story and aesthetically starts coming together as a kind of marathon, but more complex and done on more advanced tech that can realize more sophisticated scenarios. And yeah, Halo really kind of, the fact that they got picked up by Microsoft and became a, hey look, it's Johnson. But yeah, the fact they got picked up by, sorry, we'll listen to this. Look at the little sentinels go, they're cute.
A cartographer. Good. Should help us fix.
Yes, we're looking for a cartographer as well. We're even reiterating stuff that happened in past Halo games, which I've been pointing out since the second one, that like the structure of levels in the campaign is very much like going through a pattern of like you get attacked in a human place and then you kind of take the fight to aliens in another way, and this one opens with sniping from rocks down onto Covenant, who are really not that far away, like the Truth and Reconciliation. Bungie really, really like iterating upon their own ideas, and yeah, the obvious, you know, people who are in the know like to say, oh, Halo's got marathon stuff in it, but if you think of them trying to achieve a kind of high-stakes war drama within a video game, this game is also, Halo 3 especially, is trying and unfortunately largely failing to be myth in Halo. You know, again, like, Madrigal has fallen, we're going to fucking take the fight to Balor or die trying, because everyone is fucked if we don't do this. Yeah, if you think about it on paper, Halo 3 feels like it's combining the kind of high points and greatest achievements of all of the past, you know, great Bungie games, what those were about, what they were trying to do. All of it is happening in Halo, and that was the point of Halo from the start, you know. The type of guy Jason Jones is, he won't do anything that doesn't interest him, and why did he want to make Halo? It was basically meant to be myth plus marathon, advanced new tech, you know, iterating on and one-upping and making our own ideas more complex as we, you know, work them into this greater kind of semi-connected Go-Nagai style master canon. That's what we're going for. Did we realize it? Kind of. There's enough there that it can be appreciated, but not easily, considering that the people who really get it on this level amount to me and like 5 people I know. Well, how many of you are watching these videos? There are like 100 people who watch each one end to end. I guess we're doing okay. Are there 100 people who watch these end to end? I don't even know. YouTube analytics are weird. I could show you guys that, I'm not ashamed of them, I just don't know how to make sense of them, and it's not that interesting to me. It's good mental exercise to put these down, and I like having this channel here. When I eventually get back to doing more stuff, I think it's good to kind of have the bag on the table. The channel is demonstration of thinking in the moment, and if you like how I write or how I think, then you have this big catalog of live novel thoughts prompted by some of my favorite material. But yeah, I do need to do more stuff, and as I said, I think that YouTube probably does have to become home base of all things I do, because basically every writing-based site is shit or wants to kill me for existing. God, what a shame we lost backlog, but let's not dwell on that. Back to this game, yes. What is going on in the Forerunner terminals? Basically, we only found the one so far. If there are more in this level, I don't remember exactly where they are. There's some more background skybox battle for you, by the way. It's not that grand, it's a few of our little knockoff banshees fighting their ones. And yeah, we're fighting two vehicles the size of, like, little trucks again, and this is a decisive moment in the battle for the fate of humanity. It's a bit lame that it comes to this, but whatever. I understand that this engine can only do so much, and creating some kind of highly dynamic scene to create a more high-stakes, dramatic encounter to frame this moment of the... You know, they need there to be a battle of some kind, and I appreciate that after they make the anti-air wraith asset, they can really build a level just by dropping one somewhere and saying blow it up, and I'm not going to hold that against them. Making games is fucking hard, I know that. Look at how many companies are still exploding right now. Nobody can figure out how to do it stable. At least no one who's not Japanese. But yeah, look at us go. We're gonna blow up this thing, and what was I saying? Yes, Forerunner terminals, they turn up in this level, and of course they're a big callback to Marathon, and their purpose in this plot is to establish a kind of thematic parallel to, yeah, Ian M. Banks' work, Marathon, and...
Commander, bring it down.
Roger that. Beginning my descent.
Here comes the mothership, guys. How many of you remember that? But look, this is kind of cool. This is the most interesting dynamic thing that happens in this game. Look, they can actually do a big ship landing with so much force that it launches things. Yay! This human frigate is actually able to, like, hover above a planetoid thing.
Come to the back of the frigate.
And because this is such an essential moment for the fate of humanity, they're going to give us 4 Marines.
But it's surrounded by brute heavy armor.
But this part is cool because a bunch of tanks get dropped off, and 3 tanks might not feel like a lot if you really think about it, but, you know, in terms of Halo, this many assets dropping off at once and all, you know, participating in the one scene is quite a cool development.
Alright then, you heard the lady.
Let's go, Marine Swarm.
Choose a vehicle reclaimer. This one seems in very good condition.
Spark is fun.
Let's roll.
And yeah, I don't have the machine gun anymore in this game. It belongs to that Marine who sits in the front. Let's hope he doesn't die.
Hey, how does 90mm of tungsten strike you?
Mm-hmm. Just to show you, those towers blow up as well, isn't that fun? And this one got knocked off its anti-gravity base by the frigate landing, that's fun. Is the frigate still there? Yes. Oh well. Oh shit, pay attention, Anthony. I'm fucking up the tank convoy sequence, that's not good. There's 2 hunters who show up just to get beaten up to justify the tank beats hunter line. Perfectly fine. Now we can kick the shit out of this. They actually explode in this game. Yes.
I can do this all day.
This is very much just a, like, fuck you, just power trip sequence with the tank, and there is nothing wrong with that. The tank is fun. Bungie did make some very good stuff exploding tech for this game, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with just building a sequence around it. It's far more justified, I think, than the amount of time Valve make you spend with that stupid fucking boat in Half-Life 2. There are people who say that's an overblown meme. I disagree. I think the boat is far too long, and that Half-Life 2 is in general just a really gimmicky game I don't find particularly fun. It's just a point I think bears repeating. Halo is just much better than Half-Life 2 in pretty much every way, I think. This whole original trilogy just much stronger all over. Even Halo 3, I think. More respectable effort in many ways. Again, like, it's like the voice acting and everything else. It's just something you can take for granted. Look how much, like, shit dynamically flies around when you blow things up in Halo. They're just better than the competition. And unfortunately, they're even better than their successors. Halo Infinite is much worse at this stuff. Like, I've described how they can't do vehicle explosions in that game.
Yeah, well, you're also our ticket through this wall. So if you don't mind...
Very, very easy. On Legendary, you might have to be a bit tactical with how you use this thing, but yeah, I don't remember the tank sections ever being much of a struggle. Your range is pretty much unlimited while theirs isn't, so you just kind of keep blowing them away while not getting hit by the mortars. Fun little balance thing, if we must call it that, that, you know, like with our hand weapons, the Covenant just don't have hit scan, which means that we have a pretty obvious advantage in fighting them, and that's a good thing. And there's the other tank. I don't know if it contributed much. The other two. Oh, I think my ride-alongs all died. And we lost a cover on a tread, but otherwise we're doing okay. Well, actually, my engine's on fire as well. And he's doing our loading the next section, give me a moment thing. Yeah, even Half-Life 2 has loading screens, but this game doesn't. Another thing they deserve credit for. Okay, we're doing that, fine. Tank is yours now, Mr. Blockhead Obama graphics man. Yeah, look how blocky. I shouldn't call that Obama graphics. He really does have like a 2000s PC game character man head. Which is something I like about the old Bungie games in general, that they really maintained, for lack of better terminology, their stuff looks like PC game graphics in a good way. I think that I remember this auto turret thing not being very useful, but we'll try it anyway. You can hit him and make him say stuff. Maybe not now, whatever. And yeah, here's another Forerunner structure. Rather like the ones in, you know, it's like the ones in Halo 1, it's fine. Oh look, huge pile of friends. Yeah, again, that's very Bungie to convey stuff happening through, you know, the assets who behave as they do in gameplay as much as they can. Gives a sense that the UNSC are really there and trying. And we'll see tanks and warthogs later who may be those ones, they maybe just unspawn and spawn in new ones. I don't know, but my point is that the illusion doesn't really matter. It's just all about impressions and senses conveyed. Here we go, here's our big vehicle fight. And another Scarab, look at him go. And where's our big pile of friendly vehicles? I don't know, but here's this guy. Get on the gun, buddy. We got fighting to do. Bang. Yes, but sorry, I think I was saying before, those terminals, yes. It's very much implied that the Librarian and the Didact are kind of meant to be thematic parallels to the transcended energy beings, the Jaro from, Marathon, and a big part of that is that there's the things from before, or at least they're calling them that. I think they're different vehicles, but whatever. Yes, a big part of the Marathon lore is that one of these kind of eternal transcendent energy beings was actually killed by the kind of chaotic entity, the Walken Kakantor, kind of a Lovecraft monster existing in a harder science fiction story. But anyway, where that goes is that the Jaro just kind of exist in a higher state and are maybe just doing inscrutable energy being things and hoping that other sentient life forms eventually figure it out and catch up to them. And that's very much something that fits into Ian Banks. There's something called the... what are they fucking called? They're called like the Dra-Azra or something. In the Banks novels, several very advanced interstellar empires or organizations exist. And beyond them, there are these Dra-Azra who everyone basically can't do anything about, but they don't choose to dominate sentient life. They have their own shit going on, and everyone just kind of has to respect their wishes as far as they care to interfere with other people's business, which is not very much. And I think that... Did I just get kicked by... yeah, that thing? Oh, okay, fine. But anyway, yes, the idea is that I think the Jara are meant to be a kind of more active Dra-Azra, and beyond that, the, yes, the role of the Jara is more active Dra-Azra, and the role of the, you know, leading Forerunners in Halo, the kind of didact and librarian, they are kind of something that thematically exists halfway between the Jara and just kind of, you know, what they are, the Forerunners. They're meant to have a bit of that kind of higher custodian life form thing to them. There's a lot going on. The Bungie games, they don't repeat themselves over and over again, or their influences. How I might put it is, in the Bungie-verse, history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And there are kind of several rhymes at once being threaded together, and there are no hard and fast rules of like, oh, we have to look for one-to-one parallels. No, Bungie, I believe, are quite happy to just kind of do a bit of this and a bit of that, whatever kind of makes sense for the current story. Again, a good parallel that I like is kind of how Go Nagai writes his stuff, how like Devilman, Violence Jack, Devilman Lady, all these other stories, Mao, Dante, whatever the fuck it's called, they all kind of exist within one continuity, are kind of sequels to each other, kind of meta-sequels, kind of the same things keep happening, the same characters, but also they're completely their own things. There are no binding rules, they do whatever the fuck Go Nagai feels like doing at any given moment. And yeah, I think that the relationship between Halo, Marathon, Myth, and the various influencing works, you know, Ian M. Banks, the Celtic mythology, whatever else they're into, don't look for hard rules, obligations, direct one-to-one parallels, but they are obviously strongly fascinated with the idea of, you know, giving you things to recognize if you've been paying attention to the past and are able to see that in the present and future. Yeah, let's not blast all the way back because we'll just die on our own. The tanks can contribute and take some fire. Okay, they've said it's my job, I guess I just have to close faster. I say as I fucking flip over a bunch of wreckage for no reason. Okay, all you gunner guy, you have to bring that fucking thing down. But yeah, what is the role of the named Forerunners in these terminals that were probably written by Jones? Again, I think the idea is that he's really fascinated with this idea of like, you know, becoming rather than achieving utopia, and yeah, the Forerunners are people who were in the process of trying to become, you know, this higher class 4 society or whatever the fuck it's called in, like, you know, the language of the, culture novels. Okay, that's gonna explode. I can stop worrying about that for a second. Shit, I don't want to leave my Marine friend. Let's go! Shit! We did it! Saved our Marine friend. Yeah, that's a more dynamic explosion than anything they achieved in, Halo Infinite. They just make the flash actually just white out the whole screen so they don't have to show you anything. Like, in this, the whiteout obviously covers that it turns from the solid entity to a pile of exploded chunks, but somehow by Halo Infinite the tech has become such a clusterfuck that they can't even achieve that much, so instead they just, you know, delete the asset entirely while blinding you, which is quite funny. But yes, again, Halo's story about becoming rather than what you do after you've become. Oh, is someone using the parked gun turret? That's a good idea, Marine. He was actually useful there. But anyway, yes. Story about becoming rather than what you do after you've become, that seems to be a stronger fascination for Bungie. And the tragic nature of the Forerunners is that they almost made it and then they met the... He just got fucking owned by the Gorse Turret Marine. That guy's awesome. Yes, the Forerunners almost made it and achieved basically stable, super intelligent AI who could keep learning forever. which is how the humanity of the culture novels achieved a kind of civilizational win state. The Forerunners didn't quite make it, and so they're these kind of...
Little bastard stung me.
I did not want you to come to any...
Haha. Very funny. But anyway, yes, while in Marathon, they basically wrote the Dra'azra as their kind of learned elder beings from history who everyone lives in the shadow of. With the Jaro in Halo, we don't have a Dra'azra parallel. We have basically, yeah, the failed version of them, who kind of occupy a similar role in the story, but aren't actually, you know, transcendent beings. They're just us trying to do the same things that we did. If I'm getting a lot of details confused, I'm sorry. I have to keep, like, the different states of, like, 4 different works of science fiction in mind right now, and I'm trying to, like, read all of the threads running between them, some of them sewn consciously by the people making them, some of them not so, and it's all getting a bit much to do off the cuff. If anyone knows this stuff better than me, feel free to weigh in the comments and bring some clarity here, and if I get to write responses, I will be able to come out a bit more coherently if I'm not so off the cuff, but I hope I am enlightening some of you at least somewhat as I try to bring this together. And yeah, there's Spark saying some rather important stuff in the background, as Bungie are fond of doing. Our maker's plan, a foundry. Yes, I think it's kind of implied that they were meant to make more sentient life rather than just store it, but what happened was only the stored ones ended up going back. It's kind of complicated, because Halo went through so many iterations and drafts, and, you know, you can kind of read different meanings at different times. It's all very much up in the air, even at this point. Maybe we'll get our hands on a story Bible at some point, who knows. But anyway... yeah, what is there that's relevant to talk about right now? I suppose, let's reground this. Where are we? We're on the Ark. Spark himself was the overseer of one of the rings, so he knew the leaders of the Forerunners. He knew broadly what the plan was, but he's seeing all of this for the first time, so it's a rather big deal for him. He's excited. And of course, the Ark was meant to be on Earth originally, which I think is probably more interesting. Back when Halo 2 was the last Halo, the idea was, rather than going through a portal, the Ark would have just been dug up on Earth and we'd be fighting through that. It'd be a bit simpler. But oh well, we come here, we fight through all this, no big deal. Oracle points us to some stuff.
The cartographer. Come, it awaits your approval.
Yeah, in Halo 1, the cartographer is underground. Here, it's in midair, and we get this nice, pretty waterfall here. It's kind of a, I don't know, a quirk of this game's construction, the standard of graphics, I don't know. The world is sufficiently not hard and solid feeling that this is a vista that just kind of doesn't impress like the far simpler waterfall in the second level of Halo 1, if you ask me. I don't know, I guess it's just a simple question. If you played this game, did you even notice there was a waterfall here? Again, it's something where conceptually I think this scene is very pretty, but as it comes out in the final game, I don't know, I just kind of look over there and I'm like, eh. Halo 3 just doesn't land its vistas, doesn't land its emotional highs, doesn't land its ideas. It's a sad game to revisit, but a fun game to think about, which is why this series is worth doing still. Halo ODST, that might be a sadder game, we'll see. But anyway, we're acting a cartographer. Been a while since we did that.
That's our galaxy. We're beyond the rim.
2 to the 18th light years from Galactic Center, to be precise.
What is this place?
The Ark.
This is the Ark?
I had always assumed it was part of a shield.
This exposition scene is a bit weird. This is the Ark?
Not at all. While I had a complete understanding of Installation 04, my makers wisely limited my knowledge of all other strategic facilities. Compartmentalization, in case I was ever captured by the Flood.
Can you tell me where we are exactly?
Here.
And truth?
Near one of the Ark's supraluminal communication arrays, I'm afraid. Unfortunate. The meddler has triggered a barrier, a defensive perimeter around the Ark's core.
Ooh. Keith David doesn't even say anything, he just turns to the camera there.
How odd that my makers would place such a comprehensive defense around a single... Oh my.
What is it?
Phantom!
Spark, move.
Yet if you aren't following the kind of complexities of the Forerunner meta plot, you know, trying to keep up with what's going on in Spark's head and keeping track of what we learn about the struggle of the Forerunners through this level, this whole level feels like genuinely pointless. It's basically just learning that we have to go to fight in another place. Oh, he did the mid-air hijack, what a fucking beast.
Sir, Pelican's gonna land 1 level down.
Alright. But anyway, yes, I was saying, this really feels like a generic kind of shitty Xbox 360 game level if you aren't appreciating it on this kind of increasingly complex subplot meta level. What's actually happening here in action terms is basically, sorry princess, sorry Mario, princess is in another castle. Truth is deeper on the Ark. We came here just to learn that this isn't where we're meant to be. Well, that was stupid. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. This level is a clusterfuck of stuff happening and kind of a million implied revelations which then get fucked up by how this game ends. We'll explain that when we get there, but yeah, there is a lot going on even at this point in Halo 3, and they do some stuff later to really kind of shoot themselves in the ass and render this incoherent, but you can see the way that more is going on with Spark than is being said. Like, he looks at that thing, he's like, why would they, oh my. Like, that's not like generic thoughtless video game mystery writing. Like, no, you're meant to actually, it's like Marathon, you're meant to track the state of minds of various characters and learn things based on like how they're reacting to the world around them, what they make of different bits and pieces. It just occurred to me now that Doe Kuramori might have based the stealth enemies in Beyond Citadel on how the brutes look in this game, the way they have a kind of glowing red Spec Ops eye. That may have been a consideration in Beyond Citadel, which of course I think is the greatest kind of classic Bungie homage ever made. Nobody else really gets it or has even really tried to. You know, all those Halo killers and stuff, none of those people I think really liked Bungie that much in the sense of thought highly of them and wanted to deeply do what they do, but Doe Kuramori is a guy doing that. The obvious fascination is with Marathon, but I think he's also interested in Halo as well to some extent. He likes a lot of video games in general, plays stuff from the 2000s, and I've never seen him say he dislikes Halo, and yeah, just that's something that occurred to me now. But yes, this level,
Hang tight, Chief. We're on our
very
way.
weird and frustrating because they set up so much weird, complex shit that seems like it's worth thinking about with, you know, the state of Forerunner civilization, how 343 thinks of himself and humanity in relation to all of that, what the Forerunners were, and how that, you know, thematically ties into the underlying ideas of Halo and, you know, Bungie's own history. All of that is barely present, barely teased out, presumably because Jason Jones showed up at the end and kind of wanted a few ideas to get representation, but the overall structure and form of the work is just so thoroughly compromised by this point, it just kind of comes out confused and meaningless, which is why I'm having such a fucking hard time putting all of this together, because it doesn't come together, frankly. It's painful to say, but it is true. And yeah, I've just been letting you appreciate this. This is a very cool scene where the brutes are waiting for you to 1v1 their chief, and rather than all fighting you, they're happy to actually stand around and say like, yeah, let's see what you got, human. And this guy's like, yeah, let's go, I'm in my cool anime waiting pose, like a Oni enemy, waiting to fucking fist fight you one-on-one. Oni is a cool game, I should play that eventually. But anyway, we will fight this guy. Last thing I'll say is just that every entity having a cheering animation is in myth, and it's very funny. Like, if you lose a level, the enemies who are still alive will start cheering and dancing and stuff. That's kind of in Halo, of course, how there were, like, how the scene still plays for a few seconds after you die, and, like, every enemy has, like, a "holy shit, I killed the Master Chief" line. And yeah, Truth did tell him to do this, so I think the kind of implication, I've discussed this with someone before, is that it seems like this guy was in the running to become the kind of replacement of Tartarus from the second game. Kill the Master Chief on your own to prove you're worthy. And yeah, not much honor among these guys if you kill their boss rather than kind of accepting you're a badass. They just try to swarm you. But I brought a rocket launcher, so that doesn't really matter, does it? Did I get them all? Nearly. You know what I don't like about them in this game? Their weird elephant feet. They have like rhino skin, I don't know. Turning them into these elephant, rhino, grey-skinned, tough-hide creatures, they were much more interesting when they were Bigfoots with guns. But anyway, that's the end of this level, which is kind of a tentative poke at the edges of Forerunner civilization. Kind of like how you go into all those ruins in Marathon 2. Ruins of the, you know, I suppose I don't quite remember. You go through like a bunch of Sfoot ruins, don't you, mostly? Ah, that's too much shit to keep track of.
Commander.
Johnson, look sharp.
I got it.
No, don't shoot. They mean us no harm. Those units have a priority.
That's cool.
Oh yeah? And what might that be?
I really can't say. Not for sure.
That's something they bring up in the later, Halo novels. I think especially Ghosts of Onyx, the idea that, like, Sentinels can really swarm at a retarded scale and do really insane things, which really conveys how dangerous the Flood were, that even with massed formations of Sentinels doing insane supercomputer shit, they weren't able to stop the Flood. It is just a cool image, a million of those things swarming like insects with some kind of inscrutable purpose. I like that a lot. But yeah, that was meant to be kind of our... It's meant to be like those weird Sfoot Citadel ruin levels from Marathon where you're kind of poking through ruins trying to figure out what the fuck went wrong. And, you know, it's very meta, very doubled and tripled and layered in meaning because you're... And, you know, even more so when I'm doing it, because I am digging through the ruins, doing archaeology on what is itself kind of a retrospective work of archaeology. Halo 3 is about all prior Bungie games, and then me making these videos, I'm making a Let's Play which is deconstructing this process of Bungie deconstructing themselves. Sorry if this is a clusterfuck, but I think that's kind of inevitable. And yeah, last time we did the kind of Halo 1 beach landing. Now we're Halo 1 beach landing again. And yeah, I kind of hate to say that this level is thematically less interesting than the last one, but a bit more important in terms of narrative. This one is basically things that have to happen to progress Halo, but again, it has Halo 3 syndrome, where it generally just doesn't feel like what it is. But we'll get to that next time, I suppose. I'm sorry if this video didn't go anywhere conclusive. This is basically just an hour and 30 minutes of me in agony trying to explain the complexity of the things just the amount of things you have to consider if you want to do the Halo games justice, to really consider everything that is going on, the amount of parallels and back and forth threads and so on. Hey look, there's an actor who hasn't been triggered yet, you aren't meant to walk out here. But I'm going to just because. Oh no, I hit a wall, that's sad. Well, here's a kind of meta strat if you want to beat this part even easier, just walk out here and they can't see you. But yeah, can I hit that pelican with this? No, but it was worth a try, I guess. Yeah, you got this, Marines. Well, maybe they do. It's normal difficulty. Nothing's resisting them too hard. But yeah, sorry if this was a painful and inconclusive video. I'm having a bit of a rough time putting all of this together, but yeah, if I want to do a definitive, you know, what the fuck is going on with Bungie by the point of Halo 3, how many threads are they drawing together, what are they definitively trying to say when they invoke the Forerunners at this point, what was 343 Guilty Spark meant to be, according to who, what records do we have, that will have to be its own project, but I suppose that that little playthrough of that particular level that I just gave you, I hope that that was enough to at least convey the extent of this issue, how much of an issue there is. Hey, a hornet got blown out of the sky. Why don't we try looking at that before we go any further? Yeah, that's something that's kind of cool. They are scripted to just kind of mill around and miss each other, but they are actually, you know, like the real entities. Those are real banshees obeying banshee behavior up there. These are real hornets, and it's actually a speedrun strategy in Halo Reach. I've seen this to, in the first level, knock one of these kind of skybox demo vehicles just kind of messing around, not really doing much. You can actually knock one out of the sky and pilot it across most of the first level in Halo Reach. It's quite cool and just a quirk that's possible because of how much of the scene construction in the Halo games is, you know, real. That's not like a little 2D Call of Duty background fight prop guy. That's actually, like, yeah, these are real hornets. I don't know if those three flying in stiff formation are real. We'll see. Oh no, they look like they're actually up there. Interesting stuff, how they have these kind of simple, dumb-brained air vehicles flying around to act as living scenery. Anyway, I hope I conveyed to you how much I see in Halo 3 in this video and why I feel like it is kind of daunting to consider. I hope that is impressed upon you even if you don't understand the picture, you understand the scale of it. Okay, this next level should be a lot easier, we can talk about it in cinematic terms, and I hope we will have a nice time doing that. Sorry if this one was an exhausting watch, but we'll see how we do. As always, comments greatly appreciated. They can help us make some sense of this mess. Thank you very much.